Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Miller.
I read through this contract, and the original contract allows Accelerate to have reduced rent for 3 years to assist them with their startup phase, which I understand has gone very well, and that's fantastic for the community. The Pima County taxpayers invested $1.2 million in the wet lab infrastructure required by this company to help them in that upstart. Under item D3, the expansion of the premises, there's conflicting information in the background material as to how many square feet. That item, D3, says the addition of the expansion space increases the usable square footage of the premises by 4,551 square feet. If in item C, which is the tenant wants to occupy space A, says 4,332 usable square feet. So there is a discrepancy there. So that's one question. If we could get an answer as to what the true square footage is that they're going to be occupying.
Mr. Algeber.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman will have Reed follow, but it could be, if it's off by 100 square feet, it could be the custodial room and the storage closet and the, it looks like, server room. That's add another 130, so let's probably add up to the numbers.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, County Administrator is correct. From the time they originally moved in to now, they have expanded their data needs as well as their security needs for some of their lab equipment. So it was small spaces that in actuality became a part of their lease and are now being caught up at this time.
So the total square footage is in fact 4,551 square foot that they're...
That is
okay.
correct.
And then under item 4, the Pima County taxpayers will build out option space A. How much is the cost to the taxpayers of this build out?
We just received the competitive jock bids last week. I believe it came in around $160,000, I believe, plus furnishings. So that cost, we wrote the agreement to say that their amortized cost would not exceed $400,000, not knowing yet what the final furniture cost will be because we're still negotiating that design with them. So the actual amortized amount of the expansion will be whatever it ultimately is over the balance of the original lease, which is approximately 2 years.
Okay, the way that I read this contract, it says, in addition to that, Pima County taxpayers will provide furnishings. You're telling me that's going to be included in the amount that they pay back to the taxpayers?
That is correct.
Okay. And then, so they're going to be paying back, and is this capped at $400,000 because it says the tenant will pay us back $400,000 plus the interest? Is there a $400,000 cap on this?
That is correct. The amortized amount will be capped at $400,000.
Okay, and then the other item I had a question on is the parking. If the Pima County taxpayers build a parking garage, there will be no charge for the use of the garage by the tenant during the initial term. I could find no definition for initial term.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, the initial term expires the end of calendar year 2016.
So for the next 3 years, they would have free parking if they were using that parking garage.
If we were to build that parking garage, correct, which is, I think, unlikely.
And then if we do build that parking garage, we're going to charge the tenant's employees only $50 per space per month in the parking garage. The question here is, we charge our county employees $70 per month to park. Why are we giving Accelerate, they're expanded, they're up and running, discounted parking beyond what we give our own employees?
We should not be giving them, I think, again, the rationale was I don't think we'll be building that parking garage, certainly within that initial term, 2016. If we started now, we wouldn't have it finished by that time with design and construction. So I don't know where the $50 came from, to be honest.
It came out of the contract.
Right.
That's what we read in the contract. So, okay, and there's one more. Regarding the HVAC, are we agreeing, oh yes, right now Pima County practices are Monday through Friday 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday 6 a.m. to noon to keep the HVAC up and running. And that's what we do here in the facility here at Pima County. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, that is incorrect. At the Abrams building, we now have 2 tenants that essentially require the building to be conditioned 24/7. That is Accelerate, and that is the family medicine clinic on the ground floor. Due to their pharmaceutical requirements and due to Accelerate's biological requirements, the building is essentially conditioned now 24/7.
Okay, so that's always been the case.
Yes.
Are they paying the additional costs for this HVAC?
It is prorated over the square footage to all the tenants.
Okay. And I think the last question I have is that the answer we got regarding the below market value rate that they're going to be getting as a result of this expansion. In the original contract, it said that we entered into on August 20th, 2012. It said that any expansion would be subject to the current market rate once they expanded. I'd like to know why we're going to give them a discounted rate, even though this company is obviously up, running, and very successful, and why we would give them a continued discounted rate beyond what we had already agreed to, which was the 3 years for the original premises. And this does directly conflict with the original contract.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, I believe what I understood from the law department is that this is an extension of the original premises. In other words, if they were to ask for, and in fact they are, considering additional space in the building which were not defined in the option, then those spaces would be subject to market conditions. But since this particular space, along with a pending space that they're showing interest as, were defined in the initial lease as option space, then they would be granted to exercise those options at the current rate, which turns to market rate at the end of the initial term.
Okay, that I have the expansion space that says it's item C. I will tell you the number. It's on page 2 of 22 of the original contract. At all times during the term of this lease, tenant shall have the option within 6 months prior written notice to landlord to lease either or both of 2 additional areas on the 4th floor as shown on Exhibit B at then current market rate per square foot annually, usable square foot annually. So this is item page 2 of 22 of the original contract. And that's what it says in the contract verbatim.
You certainly go back and look at that. I know at this point they are under the understanding that it's an expansion of the existing rate.
This is in direct conflict with the contract that they signed on, let's see, when did they sign this? In August of 2012, and it went into effect in August 20th, 2012, and went into effect January 1st, 2013. And the initial term was the $9.25 per square foot, and the market rate is $11.84 is what my understanding is.
Correct.
This paragraph spells it out very clearly. So I would move that we continue this item until we get this ironed out. I'd like to make a substitute motion that we continue this item until we get this clarified. This is in conflict with the original contract.
Hearing none, the motion dies for lack of a second.
Call the question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Lee, call for the question.
Question's been called. That's not debatable. All those in favor of approving item number 9, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay.
I will say no again because we are in violation of terms of the original contract. Thank you.
By your vote of 4 to 1, motion carries.